Good morning, everyone. Okay, so this is our second segment talking about immigration. Last segment we talked about spousal petitions, and this segment we're going to talk about the petition for alien fiance or fiancee, whichever. All right, so this is if your fiance. I'm not feeling well, so you have to see with me. I'm gonna go through this real quick. So this is if your fiance is residing in a country outside of the US. You file this petition for your fiance or your fiancee. So USCIS has a 90-day rule where if you're approved, when you come to the US, you have to get married within the 90 days. Now, their requirement for this petition is that you would have met your fiance at least one time within the last 2 years of you filing the petition. Now, that's USCIS's rule. I tell my clients and my prospective clients, listen, y'all need to meet at least 3 times for them to think this is credible. Even though their requirement is one time, they're going to question you. And even more so now than before, now that there are new directives going out, they're treating these fiancé petitions just as how they're treating the spousal petitions. They're looking at them from the inception with scrutiny. So one has to be very careful what they're submitting. And even though USCIS has their initial required evidence and they tell you you have to meet this person within 2 years of you submitting this petition, they're looking for a lot more. So I typically go through the list of things, list of initial required evidence, and then I tell my clients what else I think they can submit that would prove the validity of their relationship. So same things like with the spouses, pretty much the same thing. Trips, no itineraries, boarding passes, movie tickets, things that you've done with both names on it. Let's say you went to a hotel and you reserved and you have a reservation where you checked in and both names are on it. Those are credible things that you can use. Photographs, messages, WhatsApp, social media. If you don't use social media, then your phone calls or your text messages will be your next best bet. Okay? USCIS is not going to take your word for it. They want tangible evidence that they can see and check. All right? So people always send me itineraries. They'll take it, but it carries very little weight in their opinion, and they'll tell you that as well. All right, so the process is you file the petition here in the US with USCIS. They take a while to process this petition. So in cases where I have fiancés that have visas that travel back and forth, I tell them, make sure you don't have any reason to travel because I don't know what they're capable of. You might be coming in and they see that you have someone petitioning for you and they tell you, we're not letting you in. Go back and wait for your petition to be completed. That has happened to people in the past. I don't know definitively that is happening right now, but I always tell people just prepare for the unexpected. So get your affairs in order first before you start the process. Once USCIS approves your petition, they're going to send it over to the National Visa Center. And what NVC does is another set of processing, which is much shorter in time than the USCIS process. Once NVC processes your petition, they send it off to the embassy of your fiance's country. Once your petition gets to the embassy, well, let's talk about when NVC sends it over. What they'll do is they'll send you an email. Yes, they're not going to call you. They're going to send you an email. So whatever email you put on your petition to USCIS, that is the email that NVC is gonna send the email to. What they do, they'll create an online account for you, the Department of State, and they'll send you your case number, and you'll be able to access your online portal with this information. Now, I've had in the past, many people have missed this email. So you have to look out for it within months after your approval, sometimes weeks. There have been people that have complained that they haven't received anything, and when I tell them to pull up their emails and I search for NVC or National Visa Center in their email, the email pops up from 3 months prior. They totally missed it. So you have to be very careful with that, because not taking action on your own case after a period of time, I believe it's 12 months, they'll close your case and consider it abandoned, and you have to start the process all over again. So just a little tad bit, you just need to be vigilant. If you check your email and you don't see anything from them, you can go to the search box in your email and type in their name and see if you missed that email. Okay? All right, so once the embassy gets your petition, it's time for you to start, your fiance, to start doing things to prepare for interview. So once you log into your account with the account number that NVC sends you, you'll be able to see what required documents are needed. In order for you to get to that point, though, you have to first pay some fees. Now, I don't know if the fees are different from country to country, but they're around the same range. There is a application fee and an IV fee. So I'm going from memory. It's both of them together, not more than 500 US. So once you pay your fee, that's when the portal opens up for you. It takes a few days for your fee to process online, and once it's processed and they accept it, they open up the portal for you. You can go in and submit whatever required documents they're asking for, and then after they process the documents, then they'll approve you and schedule your interview. Now, I always tell people, do not give these folks more than they ask you for. If they ask you for B, don't send them B and C or C. Send them B. Give them what they ask for. And then once you go to that interview, well, before you get to that point, you're going to have to do a medical. So typically, the visa center tells you where they accept medicals from in your country, and you can go there, do your medical, and then schedule your interview. Now, there have been times when I've seen where the medical and the interview date are so close in proximity that you'll complete your interview and the embassy does not make a decision because they have not yet received your medical. You don't have to worry about that, because the place that they select for these medicals have direct contact with them, and once you completed your medical with them, they will send the information over to the embassy and you'll get a decision within short order. Okay, so let's talk about things that can cause your application or interview to be paused or delayed. The most popular thing that I know that can cause a problem for applicants or petitioners is criminal history. So criminal history is one of their pet peeves. If you disclose any kind of criminal history, they want to see a record of it, they want to see a disposition, and they want to see what happened. And that brings me to something I missed. You have to get a police record as well. And you'll see it'll be on your list of required evidence and thing that you need to upload into your portal. So you have to get a police record. So let's say, for example, you remember back in your teens that you got arrested for a misdemeanor, let's say a misdemeanor theft by shoplifting, and it was your first theft, and the court said, okay, I'm just going to put you on diversion and you do some community service, and once you do that, we dismiss your case. So the case is dismissed. And they asked you on your application if you've ever been arrested, and you said yes, and you disclosed it. And then when your police record comes, it has a clean record, no history. They are going to look at that as a discrepancy and start questioning you about it. And if you don't give them something credible enough, they'll put you on pause and say, well, go back to the court and get a disposition and bring it to us. Now, if you're from like a third world country where records are destroyed after a certain period of time, then you're going to find yourself faced with an uphill battle. I had a client who filed for her spouse. They were married, and they had problems because of a misdemeanor charge that he had, and they retained me after the fact. I think I wrote at least 5 different letters telling them that the precinct burnt to the ground and the records are unavailable. The court doesn't have them. The court moved from one location to the next. They lost files. Just a whole lot of things happened. And that sometimes happens when it comes to these records. So you have to have somebody credible telling them these things. If you tell them, they're not going to take your word for it more often than not. Okay, so just take a note that that's one of the things. Criminal history. Another thing that can delay your processing is your medical. If you need to take shots that are unavailable, and sometimes the place that you do the medical will send you somewhere else if they don't have it, and then once you complete it, you can take it to them and they'll continue processing your application. Alrighty, let me see what else I wanted to talk about with this process. The police record, right? This is something that a lot of people miss. Jamaica specifically, I am not sure if I've seen where other countries have a place for signature, but Jamaica have a place for signature on your police record. And most times when I get a police record, it's unsigned. You have to sign it before you send it to your attorney, okay? And that is a requirement. So remember also that I said that the new directives that apply to spousal petitions, they do also apply to fiancé petitions. So you're going to be scrutinized. Now, as for the 90 days that you get when you come here, those 90 days, I think it's deliberate why they do 90 days, because dating and courting someone from a distance and living with them are 2 different things. So you come here and you have 90 days to live with this person and to see if this is something that you really want to do. And if you get to day 88 and you say, I ain't doing this, deuces, you can jump on a plane and go back to your country. No obligation. So that is the reason for that 90-day requirement. Once you get married within the 90 days, your fiancé is able to adjust their status. They get a permanent resident card. And then they'll also get a work authorization once one was applied for. And they'll be free to do every and anything, with the exception of like voting and things like that, that the normal citizen can do. Now, because I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to talk about anything else. But if you have questions, shoot me questions in the YouTube question comment section. And before I start my next video session, I'll answer as many of those questions as I can. Again, you can find us at marshaslaw.com, MARSHAS, law, LAW.com. And you can reach out to us. I represent persons in immigration cases anywhere in the U.S. that you are, because immigration is federal law. So once you're barred in any state, you can represent a client as long as they're in the U.S. One other point before I go on these petitions, and this is both the spousal petition and the fiancé petition, where the other party is out of the country. If that is the case, you have to remember the attorney in the U.S. is not barred in your fiance or spouse's country, so they cannot represent them. However, being the person that I am, I typically try to help my client here and their fiance navigate the process in the other country in order to get and prepare them ready for their interview. It's not required, but I do it. Most attorneys won't without charging you a fee. That's something that I'm going to revisit shortly after hearing some stories, but we'll talk about that at a later time. In my next video, I'm going to talk about sponsors and sponsorship. Hopefully, I'll be feeling better because this one is going to be really interesting. Check us out on the website. If you want us to represent you, you can use the contact page on the website and get to me, or you can call me directly at 678-395-5349 or 404-500-6665. And again, you can always go to avo.com and search my name, Marsha Francis, for reviews. I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.